Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely.
So it's this English learning podcast called Daily Money Briefing.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
It's actually pretty cool. You get the
Yeah.
financial news and kind of a language lesson all in one.
Oh, I like that. Sort of killing two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
We sift through the latest market buzz to give you the important takeaways. Today, we're focusing on a few key things. Those US-EU tariff talks, the Korean one looking potentially stronger, and, well, a bit of a puzzle in Korean shipbuilding.
Exactly. We've got some market reports, economic commentary, and the idea is to see how these pieces fit together, or maybe how they don't.
Right. Our mission, as always, is to pull out what really matters for you from all this information.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so tariffs first. President Trump floated that big 50% tariff on EU goods, originally set for June 1st. That's quite a number.
It really is. And then, what was it, just 2 days later, they announced a delay, pushed back to July 9th.
That quick turnaround is pretty telling, isn't it?
Absolutely. It feels very much like a pressure move. Trying to get some movement in those trade negotiations, especially on services where there's this imbalance.
A bit of brinkmanship, maybe? Is that what analysts are calling it?
That's the term floating around, yeah. Push things right to the edge to see who blinks first. Classic negotiation tactic, really.
But the EU isn't exactly rushing to make concessions under pressure. They seem to be holding firm.
Which could make the next round of talks quite tricky. It just highlights the shifting sands in international trade right now. Things feel quite uncertain.
Definitely. Lots of moving parts. Okay, so let's shift over to currencies, specifically the Korean won. Because interestingly, that tariff delay seemed to ripple out.
It did. The U.S. dollar softened a little bit on that news.
And the won benefited?
Yeah, the won seems to be a beneficiary.
Yeah.
You've got Bank of America Securities suggesting the won could strengthen to, 1,320 against the dollar by the end of the year?
That's significant. And wasn't it performing quite well recently anyway?
It was, actually.
Yeah.
Among the major Asian currencies, it's apparently been the strongest performer lately. Some analysts are even talking about a potential 3% rise in the near term.
Wow. And are domestic forecasts lining up with that?
Pretty much. We're seeing figures like 350 from IM Securities and NH Investment and Securities for year-end. NH even pegs that as the Q4 average.
So the general feeling is maybe a bit more dovish on the dollar.
That seems to be the sentiment in the wider currency discussions, yes. A weaker dollar outlook is gaining traction.
So for you listening, a stronger won obviously impacts things like import costs, maybe investment returns in Korea, something to keep an eye on.
Definitely.
Now, completely different scene. Korean shipbuilding, globally, it's boom time, right? Record orders.
Yeah, the global order book for new ships is apparently hitting record highs this year, which makes the Korean situation stand out even more.
Because their orders have just collapsed.
It's a dramatic contrast. Global orders are way up, but South Korea's orders have fallen off a cliff. We're talking from around 7.6 million gross tons down to just 1.3 million.
That's huge. And their market share.
Plummeted from nearly 12% down to about 1%. It's quite stark.
Okay, so what's the main driver here? Is there one big factor?
Well, a lot of fingers are pointing towards the stalled privatization of HMM. That's a major Korean shipping line. Because that deal is stuck, they apparently haven't been able to place orders for new ships, and that's had a massive knock-on effect.
Ah, okay. So one big player being sidelined holds back the whole sector from riding this global wave.
Seems to be a major part of it. But there are other things, too.
Like what?
Well, there's still quite a bit of uncertainty around which eco-friendly fuel technologies will become the standard for ships. That hesitation means some companies are holding back on big, long-term orders, waiting for clarity.
Makes sense. You don't want to bet big on the wrong tech. Anything else? Internal factors, maybe?
There's some talk about rigid corporate structures within some of the domestic shipping companies, maybe not helping them adapt quickly enough.
So it's a mix of things. A key deal stalled, industry-wide tech uncertainty, maybe some internal inflexibility, all while the rest of the world is ordering ships like crazy.
Yeah, it paints a pretty grim picture for them right now, unfortunately. Missing out on a major global boom.
It really shows how internal decisions or indecision can stop a whole national industry from cashing in on global trends.
Absolutely.
So wrapping this up, we've seen trade policy jitters impacting currencies, and we've seen specific industry problems like with HMM and fuel tech causing a major player to miss a global surge. It's all quite interconnected, isn't it?
It really is. These aren't isolated events. They ripple through the global economy in complex ways. And, well, it leaves you with a question to think about.
Yeah.
Given these connections, what other sectors, maybe ones that seem unrelated right now, or what other economies might be next in line for some unexpected shifts, where could the next surprise come from? Plenty to ponder there. Thanks for diving deep with us today.